The Maltese vegan. Tonight I'll be making pasta fagioli, but I won't be using any pasta. I'll be using rice, so technically it's riso fagioli. The ingredients are rice that's boiling away. Then there's onion, which I was frying, but I stopped the process so that I can record the whole recipe as I'm making it. And I'll show you the other ingredients. So I've got the garlic, 2 cans of 240 grams each of tomato polpa. Then I've got an 8-ounce can of black beans and then 8-ounce can of butter beans, slightly similar to cannellini beans but larger. You can obviously scale up the recipe to the amount that you're making. This amount serves about 4 non-high carb people, but if you're high carb, you're probably gonna be eating this between 2 people at least, at most. The recipe usually requires salt. I'm gonna be tasting it at the very end and seeing if it needs any salt at all. I'm gonna try and avoid as much as possible to put any. That's in Spanish, albahaca, it's basil, dried basil, and oregano over there. I also have to put in some parsley, but that's frozen, so I'll be taking it out in the very end, or rather when I'll be using it in the recipe. So let's begin. So I'm frying the onion. Well, I call it frying, but it's actually just using water. As you can see, I still managed to get that browning and translucency effect, which is what we're aiming for this recipe. So as the water starts to evaporate completely, I actually might let it sizzle a bit longer, add a bit more water, and then once it evaporates once again, I'll move on to the next ingredient. As always, I forget the heat on high, and the onions tend to get a bit burnt, but that's my problem rather than the process's problem. So after half an onion has been fried, it's time to add 1 clove of garlic. So I'm following the same process for the garlic, and you have to cook it until it's tender, until the garlic is tender. I'm frying it up once again, added some more water as usual, just so that it doesn't get burnt and everything just gets nice, translucent, tender, and browns a bit. Mine's a bit over brown because, as I told you in the beginning, I had the temperature on too high and kind of burnt the onions a bit. I've thrown some celery stems. I didn't mention them in the beginning. I forgot about that ingredient. And now I'm going to start adding all of the other ingredients. Just put them all in the pot and that's it. I lowered the heat. I poured in 2 cans of tomato. Now I'm gonna put the 8-ounce can of beans and the other 8-ounce can of beans. Those will go in there. I forgot to mention I also added the I think I put 2 cups and another 75 milliliters in here of water, about 3/4 teaspoon of basil, dried basil, and another 3/4 teaspoon, that was the rice timer, and another 3/4 teaspoon of oregano, about 3/4 teaspoon of basil, dried basil, and another 3/4 teaspoon, that was the rice timer, and another 3/4 teaspoon of oregano. Here it goes. And we have missing the parsley. I keep calling it parsley, it's actually celery. So there goes in the celery. The soup or riso fagioli is boiling away, simmering. I set it, I'm in a hurry, so I set it for about half an hour on a medium to high temperature. Ideally it's set to a medium to low temperature with about 1 hour of simmering time. In the meantime, I've got about 150 grams in its raw state of brown rice. You could add as much as you want, as much as you feel like. This is all I had. I would have added more, in fact. And it's, let's say, 90%, 80% done. And I'm just going to put that in the sauce so that it soaks up the sauce itself, makes it thicker, and it cooks the rest of the way. In the meantime, I've used one of these, scooped up some of the more solid bits, so beans, tomatoes, etc. And I've put them in a glass bowl so that the heat doesn't melt I didn't use any plastic bowls so that the heat doesn't melt them. And meantime, waiting for that to cool down so that then I can blend it inside this. Then I'll add that back to the soup and it will give it a very rich and thicker texture to it. I also like to have my riso fagioli a bit spicy, so I'm adding some freshly ground peppercorns. I think that was about 3/4 teaspoon. Once again, you can vary as much as you want. Maybe add a little bit, taste it, and add a bit more if you feel you want it more spicy. This is about 10 minutes away from the end of the simmering process. So here we go. Timer just rang. This is done simmering. The rice has been cooking in there. I've got the paste made from the blended solid parts of the soup, and in it goes. Now it's just a question of mixing it in properly until it's blended well, and it's ready to serve. I just can't wait. High carb riso fagioli. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video and click the subscribe button below if you want to keep watching my videos.